Hello, welcome to the May video chats with fans. Again, slowly getting more organized. Have a lot of announcements today about Planetside in particular, and I was going to talk some about the Nostalrius server. There's a lot of people message me about that. Okay, first announcement. One I should have made the last time. The next video chat will be on June 5th. So, I've been aiming for the first Sunday of each month. The same time, about 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's see. Oh, yeah, and for video footage, again, some people sent me some, but there were problems with all of them. Like, one person sent me Elite Dangerous, but I thought that might make people motion sick, the way it would just kind of swung around. Another person sent me Undertale, which I've heard can be kind of spoiler heavy, so I don't want to show that. Another person said, oh yeah, here's this great stream and a playlist, and then like 7 out of 8 I couldn't access. They were set to private mode. So you can still send me gameplay footage. If I decide it's like a good match for this, yours can be on the next video. For now, it's more Guild Wars from my girlfriend again, because she was willing to record this. So here you get to see more of her playing Guild Wars. Hopefully the sound isn't screwing things up. Let me know if it is, and I'll try to figure something out. Okay, so yeah, announcements. This month, gonna be a little bit slower. This month, I want to reply to every kind of important email I've been backed up on, or just ones where people, wrote a lot to me. And I feel like they, should get a reply. If you have sent me an email like you're still waiting on a response and it's older than December, go ahead and send me another one, okay? russwscott@gmail.com. Something might have slipped, or maybe I thought, well, this one's not too important. I don't always reply to ones that are just game requests, but in general, I try to reply to anything important, like somebody offering a help, or they put a lot of thought into a question, that sort of thing. So I'm going to try and get caught up on that. I'm going to try and start the prep work to get more videos out in the future, like at a faster rate. Basically, I want to lean towards something that's going to be... I'm not killing Game Dungeon, but I might try to do something that's similar to Game Dungeon, but a little bit different, but it takes a lot less of my time that I could kind of get some help with from volunteers on. So I'm hoping to get that started this month. I don't know if the first video will start this month. I'm going to try and get a Game Dungeon done. No promises this month. Let's see. And try and get the redesign of the website started. And of course, the Planetside meetup, that'll be in 2 weeks. Check the time I put in the Planetside video. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. And yeah, I think that's it for announcements. So basically tooling up to get a whole lot of stuff done. I've been meaning to do, a lot earlier in the past. That's more or less what I said last month, but then I ended up doing Rama, then what else? Yeah, I did the Planetside video, which took me a lot longer than I needed to, but although I feel like that tutorial was kind of needed. Okay, some Planetside 2 updates. Many things to mention. First, there is one piece of information I wish I had put in the tutorial. I did not know about it at the time. That piece of information is you can get to the battle that's far away by sort of spawn chaining or chain spawning. What that means is you spawn to the closest base to the place you want to go to, but if that's still far away, you just hit the redeploy again, spawn to it again, and just kind of keep going and take steps until you get at the base you're at. I did not know that. If you look at the official tutorial for spawning in Planetside 2, it does not mention that. If you look at Rel's beginner tutorial, Rel is a big Planetside community member who became a dev, it does not mention that. So I wish that information had been there. So that's the number one thing I wish I had put in that tutorial. The second thing, which is lower on the list, that I kind of wish was in the video, is that if you ever get discouraged, like you're just getting killed within 5 seconds after spawning, either find another battle or try Infiltrator Cloak, get behind, and you can mess with people that way. And I wanted to respond to a few criticisms on the tutorial I made too. Yeah, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to have a Planetside 2 meetup session. Just check the video, on my channel. It's, join Ross and Planetside 2. I think a lot of people didn't get was I was aiming for maximum simplicity when I did that tutorial. Because again, the game can be kind of daunting. I wanted to be people to be up and playing it and having something resembling fun with as few steps as possible. So every piece of information that I had to add, I had to weigh whether it's like, well, is this really something I should tell new players? I think that tutorial was at the threshold of what many brand new people are willing to tolerate before they just give up on it and try something else. So like a lot of people were saying, oh, I should have recommended medic or engineering because they can get experience faster. I think a brand new player should not even be worried about experience or certification points. You have capable gear for different classes for what you're specializing in, for just a free player. That's something they can figure out later once they get a feel for the game and decide they want to specialize in something. They're going to be capable with that. Also with medic, what I found to happen a lot of the time is, okay, some medic brings you back, bam, they're dead again because they were in a bad spot. Bring them back, bam, dead again. And that's just not a fun cycle. Whereas if they go back to the Sunderer, they might try a different approach. Or hey, maybe the Sunderer is under attack. That kind of keeps the Sunderers a little more guarded if more people are flowing through it. So again, I was not aiming for how to be a master player at Planetside. I was aiming for, let's get somebody who might have given up on this game to hopefully try and get them in there and doing something fun. So I hope that addresses some of the criticisms about it. Let's see. So basically, any extra piece of information, I had to weigh it. Will this be the straw that breaks will this be the straw that breaks the camel's back as far as a new player giving up? So that's why so much of it was dedicated to where to get to the battle, because and I left out the most important part, which I didn't know. So, okay, but right now things are in a crazy state with Planetside, because they had a big update that adds a lot of new things. Some of it sounds awesome. Like they had this whole construction system, which you don't need to know about any of this if you're a new player. My tutorial still stands. It just means there's more places you can blow up. That's pretty much all it means for a brand new player. But what really worries me is in the patch update. Okay, I'm giving a direct quote here. Any player trying to zone into a continent where their faction has 10% more population than the lowest populated faction will be placed into a queue. And then another line, if the player's faction is severely overpopulated on all unlocked continents, they will be able to play on the continent where their faction has the least population advantage. These lines have been driving me crazy because there's two ways to interpret this. One, it just means that, if we have a bunch of people flooding in on one faction, it just means you might not get to be able to pick the continent you're going to play on. If so, I understand why they're doing that, but, maybe I can hop around different continents or you join me in the next game. That's not that big a deal. The other interpretation is if we have more than 10% of any faction, then everybody gets queued. And if that's the case, I may have to cancel the event. Because say we have 1,000 people coming in, and let's say there's like 1,800 players, 600 on a faction already. If we can't move it more than 10%, that would mean the first 60 people would get in, and then 940 people would be queued. That would be a disaster. That would be over 90% of the people not being able to play at all. I've been trying to get a straight answer on this. I have one person in the forums, which I got locked out half the time anyway, but I was able to get in. They said that people will be able to get in, but it's really buggy right now. So the intention is by the time we have the play session, everybody will be able to join, but maybe not. Also, shortly before this chat, one person in the community contacted me and he got in touch with some devs. and they all gave a different answer. One person it sounded like they didn't quite understand the situation. Another person said like, well, maybe they can reduce the queue limits for when we do this if it's scheduled. And then Rel actually relayed, I didn't talk to him directly, but he relayed to me, no, they hope to have this solved by the time for the meetup, but he's not giving any promises. So right now, I guess it's still on. But hey, if I did a test last night during prime hours for that, and I couldn't get in. Every continent was queued. Well, one continent was locked, 3 of them were queued. So, and that's probably not going to be as big a crowd as what we're trying to plan. So, we'll see what happens. I'll try it, but I'll either I guess give up if the queue's too bad for this month. I mean, I could try it again next month if they fix the issues, or I could just try another server if I log in and like every continent has an hour queue or something. But still, hey, let's try to get everybody in there, as many NCs as we can. I've heard I almost kind of want to discourage people coming out to just put us back in our place for this first session, because here's the thing, guys. We want to bring in as many new players as we can. So if everybody rallies together to just crush this the first time, that's going to discourage a lot of people. But if we have sort of a victory at first, like the first time, and then everybody comes in, for June, July, August to try and stop us, I think that'd be a lot better, because then players can know, oh, at least we can win, So I really kind of want to, for anybody who cares, which these people probably won't, maybe take it easy on a little bit on us this first time, because, in an even fight, we're going to get wrecked. Our only hope is for larger numbers. So we'll see how that goes. I also have another announcement related to Planetside. This is not mandatory at all. But if you are interested in joining an outfit, or, getting more organized with squads, one who specializes in newer players and they run a pretty big one, has stepped up to help out if you want like a little more training or organization. The faction VCO in capital letters. I think it's the Voodoo Shipping Company or something. I've been talking with a guy involved with that, and it sounds like it'd be a pretty good fit. So if you're looking for an outfit to join for this, they're the ones I recommend. Now, if you're an advanced player and you have your own guys ready to go, don't let me get in your way. Do what you think is best. But I'm basically going to be leading everybody who barely got through the tutorial. And even then, a lot of those people might not make it to where I am, in which case they can just try and find a battle, hopefully have some fun. But for if you want a little bit organization above that, that's more competent at things, then try and join VCO for this month. And let's see, do I have any more? I think that's all I have to say at Planetside 2. I just keep my fingers crossed, that this works. And if not, we can try again next month. If they really have broken it so that we can never have more than 10% of the population, we might just have to cancel it, because that's such a huge change. One of the things I didn't really like about Planetside was that it's always sort of a Valhalla situation where it's sort of an ongoing stalemate. And I feel like people doing surges like this is the only way to have some sort of victory, So I think that kind of might be working against them if they're too aggressive about automatically balancing everything. Okay, next up. Yeah, okay, I think that's all I have on Planetside. Yeah, that's basics. Okay, next up. A whole bunch of people messaged me about news on the Nostalrius World of Warcraft server. Okay, for those who don't know what that is, there was a private server being run using a server emulator for World of Warcraft called Nostalrius, and it had 800,000 accounts and 150,000 active players. And it recently got shut down because Blizzard finally found out about it. And then there was a lot of news on that, particularly because JonTron made a video talking about that, which stirred up a lot of information. And this does tie into me kind of preaching about not killing games. Boy, when I first heard about this, my mind was just spinning because there's so many different ways to look at it. If you've ever seen the movie Crimson Tide, there's a line there, something like, by the law, both of you are right and both of you are wrong. That's sort of my attitude about this, but let me kind of go into more detail on it. Okay, we had big technical problems. For those watching this on YouTube, you missed a lot of me screwing around trying to fix things. Okay, I was talking about Nostalrius, the private World of Warcraft server. Let me pull up my notes on this since I lost track of everything. Okay, so this server was the original 1.0 World of Warcraft. It was sort of the closest you could get to a 2004 World of Warcraft experience because the game has changed so much. And in my opinion, this is just such a huge gray area. Because, see, I care the most when there is no way to play the game anymore. And World of Warcraft, this wasn't really the case for World of Warcraft for two reasons. One, Blizzard is still... Oh, wow, I got this message on... Okay, that's something else. Jeez. Okay, yeah, this is going very unprofessionally this time, but so one, you can still play a form of World of Warcraft now, obviously, and two, this wasn't the only private server out there. There's dozens of them, and this software you can get too. So for the dedicated, there still was a way to play this. So to me, that makes it a lot less extreme than the cases where that's it. No one is playing, But also, I feel like since this was illegitimate, this running a private server, against their terms is sort of an assumed risk. You're taking that you might get it shut down. It's like if you go to a baseball game, it's an assumed risk that if someone hits a ball into the crowd, it might hit you. I feel like they have to kind of assume some of that with a server like this. And I do feel like Blizzard has the legal right to go after them because you could argue that they're losing some money on that. And however, this was something that they weren't selling themselves anymore. Again, it's a weird gray area because, again, I feel like where I turn into an absolutist is there has to be some way to play the game, because if there's not, then that's unacceptable to me. And here, there was a way to play all of that. However, people could argue that it's not the same game anymore, and that this is the only way to play the original. Like, this is the good version. I'm not against that, but I guess that's a lot harder battle to win because, like, how do you define when the game's changed too much? In the case of World of Warcraft, you probably can, but for many games, maybe there's a small update and all that update does is add pumpkins. Like, before there were no pumpkins, now there's pumpkin patches. You can pick them up, toss them around. And did that really break the game? Well, some people might say yes, but the point is, it tends to be more of a curve, or it's not clear dividing lines. Like with Planetside 2, they're adding this construction stuff. That sounds awesome. Some people don't like that, but they're also adding this queue limitation stuff, which I obviously am not a big fan of that. So it's harder to have a cutoff point. So I personally would like people to play any version of the game they want. This is a trend I don't like, of having, control taken away from the players kind of needlessly. But for games where they're still supporting it, but it's just different, That's a lot harder thing to enforce. It would be nice if, like, it didn't take 150,000 people, or what, they had a petition for 200,000 people playing one of the most popular games on the planet in order to draw attention to something like this, because there's so much that just flies by. But yeah, again, my brain was racing with so many different thoughts on this. I did see the JonTron video, and it made Blizzard look so bad. Like, they had the one developer up there just giving the most arrogant answer possible, saying, no, you don't want this, because he obviously knows better than these, 150,000 players. Yeah, maybe he knows better for a few million that are still playing, but it's just arrogant to assume, to just tell people that they're going to enjoy this. Everyone that they will enjoy that. Also, these players are playing a game Blizzard used to sell, and they refuse to now, the way they're doing it. So I don't blame them at all for setting this up. Like, it's such a muddy situation. And I guess one thing I do want to emphasize, a lot of people have brought up, Blizzard's made some press statements saying like, oh, it's our trademark or it's our copyright. We have to protect it by stomping out every single thing. Guys, do not believe that for a second. Activision Blizzard, or Blizzard Activision, is a multi-billion-dollar company. They can't change their terms in order to accommodate something like this if they wanted to? Believe me, if this was a priority for Blizzard and they wanted to change this, they could change it overnight. So any argument saying, oh, they can't because of the copyright law, no, that's disingenuous. Look, they could probably lobby to have the copyright law change if that was the obstacle, which it's not. They could just change their terms of service. That's all they would have to do, run it through the lawyers. They could change that as fast as they wanted to. Now, I can understand it's not a priority for them because this is still a minority of players. And I understand why they're going after it, because that could be lost revenue for them, arguably. I mean, they'd be smart to have a sort of a legacy mode for people, but... So, yeah, don't believe that. Don't believe that. But the bottom line is, I think fans should be able to run a private server if they want to, but I also think in this case, Blizzard kind of has the legal right to go after them. This is another example of sort of an ongoing war between intellectual property rights versus game preservation, because a lot of the times those two are at odds with each other. However, I am happy for anything that creates more awareness about this issue of people not being able to play the games they want. So, again, you could argue it's a different game now. So we should always have some form of being able to play the games that, people have paid money for. Just, this particular issue is a mess, but I'm glad we're getting more awareness of it. I think it's probably the worst example for this cause, actually, because, again, it is such a mess where it's something like, Battleforge or Darkspore, it's just so clear-cut for me. So for me, that's where the dividing line is when you can no longer play the game. And hey, the code's out there. You could start a new private server, maybe in a country that doesn't care about Blizzard's copyright laws, or... maybe Blizzard will do something to accommodate the fans. Who knows? All right, let's see. Oh, on the topic, I realize I've been taking off probably more than I can chew, but since this does come up so much, I'm toying with the idea of setting... I said before I didn't want to do the news, and that's still mostly true, but I was thinking maybe I could do the news on these topics, basically games that are dying or have been brought back from the dead. If I did do this, it would be on a separate channel. I wouldn't have it on the main one, and it would be very simplistic. Like a lot of news places, they'll just show random gameplay and talk over it. It would be about in that level. And if I were to do one of these, it wouldn't take up more than an hour of my time if I did that. But if people would be interested in me doing that, let me know. And again, I do not think that would eat up into my time that much. Plus, that'd be a great record, over time showing how this stuff has been happening. And on that note, was it Nosgoth is getting shut down this month. It was a free-to-play multiplayer action game based on the Legacy of Kain universe. I'll probably, I guess if I do this, I'll say my thoughts on that for if I do the game news like that. But yeah, if you want to play it, hurry up. You know, it's sort of an arena, asymmetrical arena attack game. Well, again, I'll save my thoughts for that for if I do the other video. But yeah, it's getting shut down this month. You can still play it though. I logged in, was able to screw around a little bit with it. Okay. Oh yeah, another thing. You know, I've been trying to avoid this, but I'm kind of seeing maybe a need for it. Are people interested in me having a Twitter account? Now, before you say yes, I would not use this like a normal Twitter account because my main fear still holds is I don't want to get sucked into all this different social media. I would use this as basically a minor announcements thing. Like I would say, okay, maybe new video coming out soon, or you know, it'd be a reminder about the video chats or reminder about Planetside. So basically, I do the more important announcements on my website, but this could be just like minor things. I wouldn't be following other people or just retweeting stuff. I wouldn't deal with that at all. But if people would be interested in that, again, let me know. My goal with this would be to have it take as little of my time as possible. So if you're sending me news on Twitter, I might not even see it. But this would be very kind of one-sided communication if I did do Twitter. But okay, I'm seeing a mix of opinions on the chat, so maybe I'll hold off on that for now. But yeah, it's weird trying to strike a balance between man, a lot of people are not liking it, so we'll see. But maybe okay. Tell you what, maybe I'll put a poll up on the website later for that. Or maybe I'm walking, or yeah, for people telling me, no, this is a terrible idea, please spell out for me why, because I really have not messed with Twitter at all. And to me, this is like the semi-valid use I'm seeing of it. And finally, minor news announcement. My girlfriend has been doing game streaming on Twitch herself. If you, and she has Twitter. If you wish to, you know, see more of what you're seeing in the video here, her Twitch channel is twitch.tv/AmazingMagda, MAGADA, and that's her Twitter too. She's doing it a couple times a week now, so I think she's only doing audio streaming for now, but she might do video later. I don't know. So if you're interested in that, you know, I'm just giving her a plug. And oh yeah, somebody's asking my girlfriend up here in the video chat. You know, sometimes she feels like it, sometimes she doesn't. So, you know, I'm not going to push her on that. And I think that's it for announcements. So, a lot of, I guess I've already mentioned this, but a lot of people asked, if you want to provide sort of editing help or just general volunteer help, you can email me. I'll probably get back in touch with you this month. I have so many emails to go through. I'm going to try and reply to every important email I will not get through the birthday emails at all. That's like 700 emails and their recommendations of cool stuff. That's going to slowly trickle in. But for if you want to help with stuff, you know, feel free to email me. You know, rosswscott@gmail.com. Okay, so now I'm going through the questions people already sent me ahead of time. And then we'll take questions from the audience. Okay, first one. Ross, have you watched Marble Hornets or any other media revolving around the Slender Man character? No, I haven't. In fact, I still haven't played the Slender Man game. That's one of those out of several horror games I've been thinking, you know, wouldn't that be better in virtual reality to really kind of scare you? So I'm kind of holding off on that until I eventually get VR before I try Slender Man. Question about the movie. Look, guys, I'll give more updates about the movie later once it stresses me out having to. working on the movie is going to be a big part of this month also. Because, other stuff came in the way the other few times, things I had to respond to. This month, I think I finally have time to really throw at it. So, hey Ross, do you enjoy watching YouTube poops? If you don't know, it's basically a video editing genre where you alter the source material to create comedic effect. No, I can't say I'm fond of the name. I mean, I would attribute this to maybe a generational thing, but I think even as a teenager, I wouldn't want to seek out something named that. I tend to prefer videos that kind of have like sort of some effort was put into them, that they have sort of a plot or, pre-written script, so the material's a little sharper, rather than sort of like spastic in-your-face stuff. But okay, next question. Have you given thought to making a stream curator list to point out gems you think went unnoticed? Well, there's a few problems with that. One, there's a lot of the games that are on Steam that I think are worth talking about, or some of them are either not on Steam, or else my copies of them, I got them before they ever were on Steam, like older ones. And newer ones, I mean, I try to avoid Steam when I can if I can get the price similar, just because if I like having to avoid as many layers of DRM as I can. I can't always do that, but I guess the point is not every good game is on Steam, and some games I don't have the Steam version, so I don't know if that would be especially helpful. But I don't know, setting up a list of games might be a better like long-term thing for me to mess with. I'm obviously dealing with a lot of stuff right now. Okay, so I'm not against the idea, but I'm not sure that'd be the best way to go about it for me personally. Hey Ross, do you know how to play chess, and do you ever play it? I actually, when I was in 3rd grade, I won a local chess tournament. But it's sort of been downhill since then. I haven't sort of kept up with chess much since then. I guess the thing about chess is you end up needing to think so many moves ahead. And plus, since then, I mean, it's obviously not a video game, but, it's hard for me to go back to turn-based combat, which is at its core what chess is. You don't have to worry about like fog of war or terrain or weather conditions or armor on the chess pieces. To me, I don't know. I mean, given the choice, I'd rather just play a real-time strategy game than chess. So, yeah, I'm not a chess master. I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure I could, be competent, but it's sort of fallen off since then. Okay, someone's asking if I've read Dan Brown books like The Da Vinci Code. No, I haven't. Or, although I've heard that that's related to like a genetic bloodline back to Christ. I think that's what has to do with the plot. And I've heard that the science on that doesn't work out so well, because if Jesus had kids, then he would have like tens of thousands of offspring now or something like that. So I don't know a whole lot about beyond that. I don't know. Vatican murder mysteries or conspiracies aren't really my thing so much. If it's dealing with, for me to be interested in a story about the Vatican, I kind of want demons to be coming up out of the earth. That's kind of the level that I want it to be, for me to be interested in it then. Okay, someone's asking about several TV shows. I got some answer. Asking if I've watched Dexter, Breaking Bad, or Better Call Saul, and what I thought about them. I watched the first 2 seasons of Dexter. I got kind of disappointed after that because, I feel like he should have run off with the crazy chick to Europe, but I mean at the end of season 2. But my view on that might be a little biased, obviously. Let's see. I've seen Breaking Bad. I'll probably watch Better Call Saul once they. I don't like to watch TV shows unless it's like at least a complete season, because that way if I want to go to the next episode, I don't have to wait. You know, my attitude about these and lots of TV shows now, like, what are some other examples? Sons of Anarchy or The Walking Dead, is they seem to have like this formula where a third of it is just awesome. I love it. A third of it is just sort of filler material, not that great. And a third of it is just pointless, really pointless drama that, like, I would just edit out completely. Like, I just skip through them. Like, nothing of substance. I'm not talking about, like, good drama. Like, oh, wow, a whole lot happened. That's deep. You know? No, this is just, like, two people standing around just arguing and making a soap opera over nothing at all important. Let's just waste everyone's time. And I feel like so many TV shows sort of follow that formula. And because, hey, Breaking Bad's a good example. Like, how many scenes at home when he's arguing with his family are awesome in Breaking Bad? Not really, not that many, huh? You know, whereas other parts are you just can't get enough of, where he's trying to do the drug trade business. But so, it's rare when I find a TV show where I'm just glued to it the whole way through. That's like a sign of something really good. Okay. Well, I'm going to skip a couple of these because this other person gave me like 5 questions, so I answered 3 of them. Okay. Do you prefer to use free open source software? What are some free open source software programs you use? What do you think about the philosophy behind it? Well, hey, I'm obviously like free stuff when it works. Ones I use, well, I'm not even sure which ones are open source or not. I think Lame as an MP3 encoder is, or some Og Vorbis stuff. I use that. Well, he mentions browsers, use web browsers. I don't know, I'm in favor of free stuff. At the same time, I can understand programmers want to get paid if they put a lot of work into stuff. I guess I'm more against DRM that prevents you from using the software. As a non-programmer, open source isn't that big a deal for me, although in some cases I can understand where it would be. But, it's... I guess, it's similar to my attitude on games. As long as I can use my software, free's great. If it's paid but does a good job, well, okay, that works too. But if it's paid, but then if you can't connect to the online server, then you can't use your software. No, that's no good. I hate that. So, I mean, especially once you get away from games, because sometimes with software, you need it for something really important. I mean, so like if your job depends on that, then that's just like totally unacceptable. Whereas a game is just an inconvenience. Okay. What do you do to verify the benevolence of the CD and DRM cracks that you use? Do you have any recommendations for alternatives to Game Copy World? Well, Game Copy World's one of the best for cracks, but if I'm suspicious of a file, on my computer I have a Vera antivirus, which not only has a free version, but consistently for many years now, it comes within like the top 3 for best detection rates. Now, it may have more false positives than others, but I'd rather have it be a little more paranoid and think like a trainer or something as a virus, even if it's not. If I'm still suspicious of something, go to the site virustotal.com. You can upload a file, and it'll scan it against like 47 or 50 different virus scanners. And then if one's showing it as a virus, but every other one says it's clean, it's probably clean. But if like 10 or 12 are showing it, or half, then yeah, maybe don't open that. As for alternatives to Game Copy World, it's been a while since I used it, but there's I think hastalavista.box.sk is a search engine for cracks, but boy, you better be ready for viruses if you're going on that thing. That's like swimming into it. You probably should set up a virtual machine if you're going to use that. But So yeah, general, just good virus scanner. If the virus scanner doesn't like it, sometimes I don't touch it. I probably should come up with for stickler cases. I haven't run into too many, but uh, for you know what sets off virus scanners more than anything else for me is trainers. Like sometimes if a game is like really just monstrously hard and I want to give myself more of an edge, I'm not talking about online cheating. That's not what a trainer is. I'm talking about like a single player game. It's just brutally hard, but you love the game, want to play more of it. Trainers set it off all the time. I have no idea if that's a false positive thing or if that's a good way to deliver viruses. So if it sets it off, I typically won't touch it. But I should probably find some software that really can kind of take a look at what it's doing. Let's see. This one sort of got answered in the last one. Well, here's a good question. You're the king of Valve. What are your orders? Well, this is based on my public perception of Valve, and they like to remain quite secretive. But okay, if I was the king of Valve, first I would implement... I think I might cut back a little bit from the everybody does whatever they want at all times philosophy. I would take more of a when it's done philosophy, done in the good way. Not like Duke Nukem Forever, but like I might have project managers that, just make sure like, hey, Bob, I heard you're supposed to make models for this game. Like how's that coming? Oh, you've only been playing Dota all week and haven't doing anything. Maybe you should change that, Again, I don't know if Valve employees are working real hard or if they're twiddling their thumbs. Nobody knows. I think there is such a good thing as good management. And by management, I wouldn't mean that like the manager has all the power. No, I wouldn't do that at all. They might be paid the same or even less than like a real key asset developer. But the point is, they're making sure people are actually doing things. I feel like a certain amount of that is needed. So there's like the crew, okay, like let's say 3/4 doesn't want to make Half-Life 3, but there's a quarter really does. Well, okay, they keep working on that. If people want to join in, they can, and the project manager keeps track of it. I feel like they could use a little more structure than what they're doing. Second thing, I would try to get them to go just all the way. I mean, they must have a hell of a lot of revenue. I would try to get them to push Linux gaming as hard as they could, like maybe create actual incentives for some companies. And because Microsoft, they seem to be doing us as much harm as they're doing us favors for PC gaming. It would be so nice to have an escape route from that, and I think Valve's best positioned to do that, even though that might be just a completely insurmountable battle. They have resources. Let's see, those are the two main things I would think of. I mean, maybe try and get some more game development going on, but yeah. I would try to change their approach away from everybody does whatever they want at all times to some people are working on things at their own comfortable pace, so they do a good job, but that way we're still getting things done. Because, I mean, look, if it was a priority, Valve would have had many more games out by now. I can understand where it's not, but at the same time, what, you think they couldn't hire some people who would just want to work on games published by Valve, done right? Okay, I should keep moving. I just realized this blotted out my clock. Okay, let's see. Okay, I got several questions this time asking about like what bands I like and things. I'm embarrassed to say this, but I'm so far behind at catching up with music. I've been on sort of this mental block where once I get my music all sorted out by sort of the general mood it has, so if I'm in this situation, it's already sorted out. I could just hit random play on this list. Then I'm just gonna like absorb as much music as I can, like that Shang Tsung thing I mentioned in my birthday video. So I need to catch up on all kinds of things. I was almost toying with the idea of like having a separate Twitch stream maybe 1 month where I just focus and try and get fan involvement. And like, how should we sort this track? Or like, what situation would we want to listen to this music? But I don't know if I have time for that right now, so that's not something I'm going to commit to. Okay, this person's asking about games. I kind of want to avoid the like, what do you think of this game? What do you think of this game? Because if my plans go well, if it's a game I have a strong opinion about, you're going to hear about it in a video in the future. So I don't want to spoil too much. If I don't have a strong opinion about it, well, then I don't have a strong opinion about it. But I don't know. Maybe I should just do a separate session where that's all people ask me, is what I think about this game. Let's see. What's your opinion on mods? Well, you know, I'm not going to have much to say that people haven't said already. I mean, they can breathe an incredible amount of life into a game, or make a game that might be unplayable, you know, a good experience, or just branch out into all things. So I, of course, would love to see all games moddable, but I can understand why some developers don't want to deal with that, because I get the feeling some games are made, it's like a plane trying to do a crash landing. It's like, oh God, if we can just keep this upright and ship before the company collapses, then we have to do it, you know? So I can understand games that don't do that will mess it up. But let's see. Okay, I should keep moving with the questions. Let's see. Have you considered going into a lockdown mode with the movie and focusing on it 100%, leaving only monthly chats to keep interactions with the fans? I think if I got close to the end stretch, I might consider doing something like that. Right now, I think there's too much. I think I would lose too much of my fan base, and so you guys have progressed like it. You guys have evolved from going from me being kind of like appreciating my fans to me depending on my fans. So, I mean, I get more from donations than I get from YouTube, and it keeps me afloat. So I have to keep producing some stuff. And however, this month I'm going to make a big push on the movie, and we'll see where that takes us. So, you know, assuming I don't get too backed up, I think the month on, month off method might work out decently well. Plus, I'm working on things so I can get videos out faster, so that really will free up my time for some other things. But I think it's too risky for me right now to even think about that. It's just a juggling act, you know. Yeah, sorry, but I am going to keep making videos. And I feel like I can't neglect people too badly. But if we were getting to the home stretch, like, you know, like there were only some animations to be done, I was mostly on the editing phase, yeah, I might consider putting everything off except the video chats or play sessions for a month, for 2 or 3 months, and then go back to regular stuff. But I have to be closer to the finish line. Ross, if you weren't working on any videos or other creative projects, is there any one game you think you would be putting 12 hours into each day? Do you sometimes think, man, I wish I wasn't so busy with creating things because then I could play this awesome game all night long? Well, I don't know, 12 hours, it's so rare for me when a game comes along that I cannot put it down. It's like once every couple years, I think. I mean, Puzzle Agent was like that for me, but I finished that, you know, in one night before 12 hours. I don't know if I'd want to do a 12-hour session. I think I still like to have some balance, even if I'm just having fun. The second question, though, absolutely. Like, if I think I would keep creating things under any scenario, but if I didn't have to, you know, I feel an obligation to fans. So if there was just nobody watching, or like 10 people who didn't really care if I had showed something on it or not, yeah, I think I would cut back on the pace and kind of have more fun. But I'm trying to find more of a balance instead. But So I would keep making things even if I had no obligations whatsoever, but the pace probably would be slower. So, okay. What are the improvements that are going to be made to the website? Well, I'm going to work more in the planning session, but basically I want the interface to be more approachable. And when I say this, don't freak out because desktops are still going to be the priority, but I still want it to have some version of it that works for mobile sites. I mean, for mobile devices, because right now I think it's probably mobile hostile because it hasn't been updated. The format hasn't been updated in a long time. I want to make it easier to get to the videos. I want to make it easier to find the extras, like the Planetside play session or these videos or just any little extra things. I want stuff that's behind the scenes to be a little bit easier for me to manage. So just better organization and easier to access everything and more direct. And I don't want to lose functionality. It's funny. I was railing on PC Gamer, I think last video chat, because I really didn't like their layout. They changed it again like 2 days after I made that video. And now it's still not as good. So, I don't know. I'm going to take layout and interface very seriously for the website design. And I don't want it to lose important functionality. So, do you accept fan art for t-shirts? T-shirts are yet another thing I need to get back up and going. I could consider it, but man, I'm afraid that's going to be slower on the pipeline than a lot of other things. Do you accept fan art? Well, yes, especially for Game Dungeon. For Freeman's Mire Civil Protection, I don't know. Maybe I could set something up like that later. Just set up a fan art section. Again, like almost every decision I make now about something new I'm going to have, I'm trying to think like 5 steps ahead. Is like, how will this impact my time? So maybe if fan art is like sent to like Daniel, who's a project manager, Danielson is his screen name. Then he's dealing with that, sure, But if it's something where it has to go through me, even little things that only take like 5-10 minutes, I have to be so careful because it can pile up. So, for fan art for Game Dungeon, absolutely. I hope to show some of it in the follow-up episodes. Hey Ross, have you heard anything from Strife's legal team? Since the developers are selling their game again, and you encourage people to download it and did it for the Game Dungeon, I'm just wondering. No, I haven't. Though, in my defense, when I did that, it was abandonware. I wouldn't have said that if I'd known that there was a copy of it you could buy. I haven't heard anything. My guess is it probably helped them just by raising awareness for the game. It would have been a lot better for them if I had done that after they did that, but I'm not going back in time to change it. Maybe I could add an annotation or something. Okay, well, this is a game question, but I mentioned it in the last Game Dungeon. Would Super Metroid be something worthy of a Game Dungeon review if Nintendo wasn't so trigger happy with taking down videos? I'd say probably not, just because I don't know how much I could add that a bunch of other people have already said. It's a very famous game. And sometimes the famous games, I have things to say that nobody else is saying, but I don't think Super Metroid would be an exception to that. So pretty much any video I make, I want to have something to say that you're not going to get elsewhere. Sometimes the game is so obscure that, just me making a video on it kind of gets a lot more discussion on it than it would. But for a well-known game, I feel like I kind of need to be bringing something to the table. And I'm not, again, I don't know if I have that for Super Metroid. I like it for lots of the same reasons everybody else likes it, Okay, let's see. In your episode about Eternum, you cited the French Revolution as a period in history that was underused in gaming. As a big history nerd myself, I was just wondering what other periods or aspects of history can make for an excellent computer game theme or setting. And he's the long question. Oh yeah, would they make it? Or he's, or whether set in real life or some fantasy world. Well, historical fantasy could always be interesting because you can switch around all sorts of things. But for stuff that's more accurate, well, Salem witch trials probably be a good period. Then I like American expansion period because there's a lot more unknown going on at that time. At the time, people didn't know what was out there in the wilderness. I mean, yeah, there were Indians, but beyond that, Monty Python's made it a joke, but honestly, Spanish Inquisition, you could have a pretty interesting game during that time. Or going back further, the Middle Ages with the bubonic plague. I guess those are all, a lot of those are periods where it's just like, it would just been terrifying to be alive, I think, for some parts of those. So any sort of period in history that kind of fits that, yeah, you can maybe work in some interesting stuff. But if you're going like with a fantasy spin of it, yeah, there's no limit to what you can make interesting. So, but it kind of depends. Besides, everybody's going to have their own bias based on their own culture or their own interest too, So, I mean, that's why I haven't played that many of them, but that's why some of the Assassin's Creed games interest me a lot more than others, because it's like, oh, they're doing it in this setting. Oh yeah, well, I'm really interested in that. But others, I'm just not. The gameplay isn't enough on its own to draw me in that case. Okay. In the last video chat, you talked a little about H.P. Lovecraft. I said my personal favorite is the Mountains of Madness. Have you read this one? If so, which genre of game would suit an adaptation of the novella best? Point and click, first person walking simulator, third person survival horror, and so on. Yes, I have read it. I think it's sort of a niche genre, but it's hard to go wrong with graphic adventure, point and click adventure, because it can handle all kinds of different genres. Some genres you basically need to be shooting dudes or attacking the enemy or something. Graphic adventure is extremely scalable to different situations. I mean, I don't know if a walking simulator, there's a little more meat in that than for a walking simulator, but you can make it first person, because a lot of it is just kind of exploring the area before they go inside the mountain, and then more things happen. It's a slow building story, so whatever genre can handle something that doesn't have to have a lot of action or combat, then I think will work for. I had a simple question regarding your idea of cheapness towards gaming. I was wondering if you bought the game at that price or waited for it to be even cheaper. Oh yeah, sorry, he's talking about the Secret World. I was also wondering if you had any of your own tips on how to buy games on the cheap that weren't really mainstream, such as Steam sales or Humble Bundle. I forgot what price I bought Secret World at, but it's in the review. Like at the end, it's, I'd say something like, it's okay, you can keep your $10 or $12. I got it during the Steam sale, I think of 2014. It was marked down to just the level I was willing to pay for. Like if it had been much higher, I wouldn't have paid it. But in general, I very rarely pay more than $15 for a game. I try to go for less than 10. I usually wait for major sales, because usually if one site's running one, then another one is to compete with them, like Amazon or GOG. There's cheapassgamer.com. There's other places you can check too. It just sort of depends. I'm usually just pretty patient, just kind of wait till I hear of a major sale or a company's having a sale, then I see if there's anything on my list that kind of corresponds with that. But yeah, okay. So I should keep going. Let's see. What do you think would have been Freeman's reaction had he picked up the hive hand or snarks in Freeman's mind? I don't know. I think it'd be too inconsistent with the character because he'd be too freaked out by it. Like, this is too far for Freeman. Like, no, this is going too far to be messing with this stuff. I mean, Freeman's obviously not the biggest fan of aliens, the way I've created him. So, let's see. Okay, guys, please stop asking me when this is going to be done, but I'll answer this one. I know you said you need to get more work done in the movie and take all the time you need, but do you have an estimate on when Freeman's Maya Half-Life 2 will arrive? I'd say probably before Half-Life 3. How's that? I think that's the best answer I get. I think it'll probably get started before Half-Life 3 comes out. Just curious, are you an actual Polish citizen at this point, or are you on the Polish version of a work visa? I have a residence permit. I pay Polish taxes. I'm not a Polish citizen. But, I'm paying taxes, so I still have to do a lot of paperwork, but they don't have too many reasons to throw me out. So, okay, I think it's time for chat questions. So I'll let the stream catch up and I'll start answering them. Yeah, easiest way for me to read it, put 3 equal sign marks before your question, and then that'll help me sort it out from the rest of the discussion. And I'll answer questions. And we'll hope that Planetside 2 doesn't end up as a wreck. I really have no idea what's going to go on with Planetside 2. I mean, I hope people get in. Okay, someone's asked me if I've played a game that I haven't. The I don't know how you would pronounce this. Chozo Mythos series. No. Okay, someone's asking when is XCOM UFO Defense or Star Control? Look, it might be never because, XCOM series is a great game, but, I mean, from what I've heard, but I hate turn-based combat, guys. It's not something I can turn off in my brain. As for Star Control, 4X games, I don't know. I mean, there tends to be a threshold in games where playing it past a certain point, it starts to feel like the amount of stuff I have to learn feels like work. And 4X games very frequently cross that threshold. But I don't know, I might check some out eventually. What is your take on the current trend of remakes, reboots, and original dev comebacks that goes on? Does it bring something to the table of not letting the game movie die but forcefully reincarnating it? Yeah, I mean, I generally don't have a problem with more games. I feel like all these cases of the original devs coming back shows how much the publishing industry has not been doing their job good enough. Because if that was the case, these developers will all have jobs in their publishing companies and making more niche-oriented games. Instead, they're getting crowdfunding because everybody still wants these kinds of games or, enough of a crowd for it to be sustainable, and now they're coming back. So I think that's great that original developers are able to make stuff again. As for remakes and reboots, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, if you have the original, you may not want to make it. Hey, look, I'll say I am stoked for the System Shock remake that they're doing because that looks like it's going to be extremely true to the original, and it might end up being one of the best sort of remakes that they have. Plus, the older the game you get, the more it can really stand to benefit from a remake. Because, System Shock, that was early 90s, so there's a lot you can do to kind of update it. But in general, I'm pro games, so that's my easiest answer. If I'm not interested in the reboot or I think the original one's good enough, then they won't get it. That's simple for me. Okay. Have you considered building a video game media server? Oh, you mean to host the? Oh, you know what? I skipped the question. I think somebody asked. I think I just skipped it by accident. Somebody was asking. Okay, well, this sort of ties into what I think you're asking. Like if I would host. No, I wouldn't make my own server. I don't. I don't know what the benefit of that would be, since you have stuff like YouTube and that would drastically reduce the audience. But somebody was asking if I would upload the original video somewhere else besides YouTube at higher quality. I guess the thing is, I still depend somewhat on YouTube income, and it's pretty good now. I mean, it's not like it was in 2005. So, or no, maybe I'm thinking, maybe was YouTube operating 2005? Well, 2007. Then it's a lot better than it used to be. So, I might consider that. I keep backups of all the videos, but okay, let's see. Somebody asked if I looked at a multiverse page he linked to in an email. I think I did. I think I was kind of confused by what I was looking at. Somebody's asking, why don't you love me? I don't know you, man. I mean, you know, I want humanity as a whole to be doing all right, so I'm with you on that, but I don't know you. Okay. Okay, someone's asking a Twitch question. Any questions as to why I'm not doing something in Twitch can probably be chalked up to basic incompetence on my part. Okay. I'm remixing Doom and Strife through MIDI. Do you want them? Yeah, if they're good. I mean, MIDI, you know, it's tricky getting it right, but sometimes you can make it sound so much better. Doom is difficult, particularly because distortion guitar is one of the hardest instruments to get sounding right on MIDI music. But there's been some killer remixes for Doom especially, but Strife, not that many. So yeah, I'd love to. I need to respond to some people on the Strife music thing still. As a poll, I wonder what your biggest culture shock moment or biggest surprise when you came to live here. I think I sort of talked about this before. Well, one being, I kind of knew this was coming, but being able to walk everywhere was very nice. I guess air pollution was a bit of a shock. I wasn't as prepared for that because sometimes it gets very bad. Not like Beijing bad, but definitely worse than places I've lived in the USA. And hey, I've lived in Los Angeles and Pittsburgh and Baton Rouge, so and, you know, those places aren't like the nightmares they were in the 70s, but like especially Pittsburgh and Los Angeles, but it still catches me off guard. Like too many people in Poland burn trash, just really toxic trash too. I mean, I think I can just tell from the smell. I think more people burn things they shouldn't in Poland than actual firewood. You know, just what's wrong with firewood? You know, that's one of my pet peeves living here. But oh yeah, another thing. They don't serve water here. You have to kind of buy it everywhere. And since I've lived in Baton Rouge, I've gotten in the habit of drinking lots of water sometimes. So, you know, having to buy it all the time. And then they'll have like tiny bottles. That was a bit of a shock. Okay. What's the most time you spent in a game? It might be Unreal Tournament 2004. That would... Sometimes I would get in the cycle. Like I try to play more of a variety of games now, but sometimes I'll get into cycles where, like, I'm real busy, and if I do play a game, it's just I sort of go along the path of least resistance, and hey, that's what I had installed, so I would play that. Played a whole lot of Onslaught mode. I played a lot of Quake 3. Played a lot more of the Quake 3 demo, actually. It was a while before I had the full version. I'm trying to... I don't know. Those are probably right. I played a whole lot of Zombie Panic Source before that. It basically, Hackers and Griefers kind of ruined that game for me. I love the formula of it, but... And when I say hackers, I mean I have video evidence. I had them dead to rights hacking. I don't mean like, oh, that guy's real good. No, there was no question. No, it was hacking. Let's see. Hey Ross, what do you use to find new games? I tend to have, like when I fire up my web browser, I have sort of this sort of quick dial option where you can kind of go to common sites. And I tend to go to some game news site. They're all PC game news sites. So PC Gamer, though, boy, they're not winning me over on their layout these days. PC Games N and Rock Paper Shotgun, I sort of cycle through there. Also, you won't catch all of them this way, but some of them, I know Rock Paper Shotgun does. Sometimes they'll say like best upcoming games of 2016 or something, and then they'll have this giant list, just gigantic, hundreds of games on there. That's where I got a lot of those for the most anticipated games list I did. Would you mind a Veil faction? I don't know what that means. Maybe they mean rival? Acting as sabotage to allow your NC group to have more players. Stuff it. Stuff NC. We need the advantage. We will not have the skill advantage. Okay, I'm trying to bring in brand new players so they can have fun, maybe get a couple kills. If we need every advantage. I mean, don't hack it. I'm not advocating that, but because in war, you don't have rules as to how many people can be on the battlefield. Just we need all the help we can get. Numbers are our main advantage. Okay. Do you ever plan to create a team of sorts to help you with your content so you can focus on things you prefer? Yeah, that'd be great if I can manage it. I plan to do that a little bit to try to get that started this month for some simpler videos, because I feel like some stuff I kind of need to be the one doing it, and other things I don't need to as much. So it'd be great if I could kind of delegate more things. Let's see. Someone's mentioning I like 19th century music in the last chat. Yes, some. What do you think of ACW era? I don't know what ACW stands for. Sorry. Like maybe they'll reply in a minute. Yeah, what do I think of ACW era music? Yeah, I don't know what that stands for. Sorry. Where do we send the video game footage? Just put it on YouTube or something, or just, or if you can't do that, just send me a email and maybe you can send it to. We can work out a way to send it to me for gameplay footage on the chats. Okay, somebody's asking me about NVIDIA and GameWorks. I'm not. I'll say I'm not pleased. I'm borderline saving that for a Ross rant, but Ross rant is kind of getting backed up a little bit. There's one I'd like to do this month. It wouldn't be about that specifically. I don't know if I'll have time to though, so not promising. But yeah, I've been following that quite a bit since. I think since Richard Huddy started talking about it, but I might save that for a Ross rants. What is your opinion on weed? It's not my thing personally. My understanding of it is it's a lot better than a lot of other mainstream drugs like alcohol or obviously cigarettes. I think I mentioned before, the most I've had is like secondhand smoke from I had some friends who were kind of hotboxing a room while I was doing other stuff. I really didn't like how it made me feel, the secondhand smoke. It made me really aggressive because I could feel myself getting dumber. Like, and I was like, it was turning me into the Hulk. That's what the weed was doing. Because I was just, because I found it just incredibly frustrating. So, yeah, mentally, it was turning me into the Hulk. That's what weed does to me, mentally. So I don't like it, but it seems safe for a lot of people. You know, I feel like South Park gave the best answer to the dangers of weed that I've ever heard. And that's, you spend your time smoking weed doing nothing, and then that's time you might have spent learning some sort of skill or doing a hobby that turned into something more meaningful. Whereas if you're just smoking weed, you're just you're just sort of getting dazed. I mean, maybe if you use that for something like art or music, that's better. But I feel like that's the best answer I've heard on the dangers of weed, besides the legality of it, obviously. But, you know, just the physical effects. I feel like that was the best answer from South Park. Okay, so I just want to know if we'll have a battle cry for Planetside 2. I don't have one in mind, man. It's going to be such a diverse front. You know, odds are, look, there's probably only a 25% chance you'll get to be in the same continent that I am. I mean, if you're in the same continent, you can come find me. But the bulk of the players may not be where I am, and you'll just have to sort of enjoy, you know, being on the bigger team, hopefully. But if I can, I'll try to cycle continents late. There's a real chance I won't be able to switch continents, but if I can, I'll try to do that so I can be with more players. You know, sort of, you know, rally the troops a little bit to kind of give a morale boost. But we'll just see what's possible. It's far from an ideal situation. But I don't have a battle cry. Because you know what? A battle cry, it might be cool at first, but then it could get real annoying. You know, it's not like real war where you might, well, in real war, you probably don't want that either to give away your position. But even if that didn't matter, you know, we're going to live past the Planetside 2 session. So there's less on the line emotionally. Okay, someone's asking about a game I haven't played, so sorry. Someone's asking what I think about the new Ghostbusters trailer. Again, probably similar feelings to everybody else. I watched the new Ghostbusters trailer. It didn't make me laugh once. You know, now granted, I can be kind of picky with comedies. I'm the first to admit that. So a lot of comedies people think are great just don't do so much for me, and the ones I do like can be kind of weird. So I think probably most of the criticisms are probably valid. If the trailer can't make me laugh, that's a bad sign, because I remember I saw the Rush Hour trailer, and I swear they used every good joke just about in that trailer. So it looked great from the trailer, and you see it like, oh, what the hell, you know? I mean, yeah, you still got to see Jackie Chan kick ass, so that was fun. But I swear all the best jokes were in that trailer. So if they weren't able to do that, then I don't know. It's not promising, I don't think. And plus, my understanding is it's like a remake. That's not a movie that needs remaking. You know, do a sequel if you're going to use the intellectual property. They got it right the first time, you know. Okay, let's see. Who is your most memorable character from Diablo 2? Because I don't know. I like Diablo 1, but well, for the first one, I think I like Griswold the best. I guess 2. I don't know. I mean, I guess Kane, but 2 of them, they didn't jump out at me as much. I could just say Griswold again. Yeah, I'll just say Griswold again for 2. Okay. If the Planetside 2 things, can we try World of Warcraft? Well, no, I'm not going to do World of Warcraft. I mean, I don't know. I might consider another free MMO, but I guess the thing about Planetside 2 is the barrier to entry. Yes, it's complicated, but you don't have to have this big time investment. World of Warcraft, a level 1 player, there's no way they can handle like a level, geez, what are they up to? 100 now or 90 or something? Or even 60. It's just impossible because of the mechanics of the game. They can't compete. Whereas Planetside 2, I think a lot of the criticisms I saw were operating on outdated information. Look, you can a Planetside 2 player could have 1,500 hours under his belt. If you come at him by surprise with your starter gun, you'll take him out. I mean, it really is much fair situation. The people who have lots of experience, it's their tactics that are going to win the battle. And their equipment to some extent, but it's more like all the stuff you can pay for is like nuanced advantage. Like it gives you an advantage in some specific situations, but not in others. Or like it works against you in others. Like what's okay, yeah, I'm veering from the original question. I'm sorry. So I would consider other games, but I kind of want the barrier to entry to be real low, and most MMORPGs aren't like that. Okay. Okay, yes, this is something I should have mentioned. For Planetside 2, I am going to record it. I will try my best to put it up on YouTube. I'm going to put that on a separate channel, though. I need to create a separate channel for this stuff because it's, look, if somebody wants to see a game dungeon or hopefully later some more machinima, they may not necessarily want to watch like a few hours of me just talking and playing Planetside. But I will try to put that up somewhere on YouTube. But I still need to figure out how I'm doing that. Because again, I really want the GPU to handle the recording if I can to lighten the load on the system. But I'll see what happens. Okay. What is your favorite video game setting? I don't have a single favorite. Check the previous video chats. I think it was either the last one or the month before where I mentioned several different kind of scenarios I like. Let's see. Somebody's asking why the Planetside event will be canceled. Well, I answered that at the beginning, but just in case, to be extra clear, if people can't get in, if 90% of my fan base will not be able to enter the game, it's canceled because that's not the whole point is to be more inclusive. If we can only get 60 people in, well, there's a lot of games that can get that many in. So it doesn't have to be Planetside then. Well, this question. Okay, this question's asking what the near drowning car incident was. I guess watch the test drive 3 video I did, or the follow-up video. I forget where I talked about that for a game dungeon. Ross, are you at all concerned about being hunted down by a person who stole you? Oh, no. I'm more concerned about being hunted down in Planetside, but we'll see how that goes. How long have you lived in Poland? Well, I came here in 2011. I was back for, I don't know, I guess it was about 6 months in 2012, and then I've been here since. So it definitely helps the cost of living. yeah. I mean, okay, I'll keep going. Keep reading. Let's see. If you were a character in a 2D platformer, what would your powers be? What would be important to you? Speed and fragility or strength and agility? I think, geez, in a 2D platformer, I think I would want to be a character that, whoa. Okay, the video stream got really screwed up. I'm not sure what. Yeah, I guess I like the idea of a character that can get out of bad situations, I think. So I guess maneuverability, one that can climb ledges or like go into tunnels or something, high endurance, I think that would be with my character. Well, I do have I have very high endurance. So see. Ross, do you own any consoles? Not now. I mean, I had a Game Boy a while back. Don't own consoles now. I have mixed feelings about it. I mean, like for older ones, you can sort of. Did the video feed screw up again? No, it didn't. Okay. The older ones, you can sort of get through emulation now. I mean, you shouldn't if they're still selling the game in some capacity. But, and the newer ones, I feel like there's less and less of a reason for the newer ones. I mean, it's like I feel like all the reasons for, or most of the reasons for consoles now, it's like, it's artificial exclusivity. You know, it's basically companies paying to have the games off another platform. In some cases, I think Nintendo, you can maybe make the argument that theirs is a little different, but like the PlayStation 4 and Xbox. So it's not that I'll save this stuff for Ross Rants. But no, I don't have consoles. I actually don't have a TV. I watch stuff through a monitor. Okay. Okay, he's asking for a game. Are you planning to do a most anticipated games #2 anytime soon? I'm not planning it, but tell you what, that's a perfect example of something where if I'm finally kind of booted up with getting more volunteer help, that'd be a perfect candidate because then I wouldn't have to hunt down all the trailer footage. I could get somebody else could work on that. Somebody else could work on the basic edit. I could just sort of pick the games, write up and voice or do video recording what I'm talking about, then I'd be done with that. But plus, those are pretty good lists since several of those games are still not out yet. So I looked ahead, did a pretty good job looking ahead on that. But I would consider it, but it's not top of the list or anything. Okay, ACW stands for American Civil War. Yeah, I mean, there's kind of cool music from that time period. I mean, geez, even before that with classic, I guess something like harpsichord or dulcimer music. That could be pretty interesting. Okay, so that means I'm pretty far behind in the chat. Okay, only 13 minutes. That's pretty good for me to be 13 minutes behind in the chat. Okay, I answered a question about my hair in the previous video. For birthday recommendations for like music I might like that for a game I may not have heard of or may not have played, there's no expiration of that. You can always send that. You see that, if you see that birthday video 5 years from now, sure, go ahead and send me some more music or cool art or stuff like that. Would you start a record label? No, I'm not knowledgeable enough or proficient in that. Plus, I mean, it's a rough field now. I feel like music is kind of, I mean, obviously there'll always be the mainstream stuff, but I feel like, you know, for different genres and everything, I feel like music might be heading slowly towards sort of a crowdfunding thing or supporting the bands directly or just having more specialized picks. I don't know. Record label. It's rough for musicians too, I'm sure, because there's so much competition. Have you seen What We Do in the Shadows? Yes, I have. The vampire movie. It was all right. It was a sort of a horror comedy. Again, I can be super picky for comedies. Actually, that's something I hope to do this October, is to have my top horror comedies, my top scary movies for lightweights. So for people who can't handle heavy duty horror or anything like that, these are my recommendations for them. And my top underrated horror movies. So I hope to have those in October this year. I wanted to last year, I just didn't have the time. So that's something you can look forward to this October. Excuse me. Okay, reading questions. What is your favorite Dave line? Mine is, you'll smoke yourself retarded with one of those. That one was pretty good. Geez, I'm a bit rusty now. Let's see. I'm trying. Okay, well, what was? I really did like when they were arguing in the Halloween safety video, but I don't know. Oh, okay, no, I know my favorite one at the end of Oil's Well. So, yeah, wait, what's with the machine gun? Oh, I was gonna try fishing with it. Just bam, and I like that. Oh, wow, okay, somebody's writing a lot here on Battlefield. Okay, no, I'm not up to date on the Battlefield news. I know a lot of older Battlefield games have had their multiplayer support killed. I don't know how many of them there's still some way to do the multiplayer, like either through like a third-party program or something like that. So, when I call a game dead, I mean dead. Now there is a Now that's definitely something worth talking about too. Is there is like multiplayer death where you can still play the single player, but maybe the game was a lot better in multiplayer, and that's dead. That too. So when I mean dead, I mean dead. Like it's impossible to play at this point in time. So that's, but it's worth talking about the game. So if I do that game news thing, which again I promise will not eat into my time that much at all, it would just be sort of a chronology of like what's happening to games as far as them being killed or brought back. I would discuss ones that are being brought back. Ones that they were dead, but fans managed to bring it back from the dead. How was your high school experience? I don't know. I mean, I guess relatively normal. I mean, how do you rate that? I mean, yeah, there's a lot of stuff I really didn't like, and some stuff that was kind of fun. Just, I don't know. Very mixed feelings about it. Just imagine what most people feel about high school. Are you aware of the Rooster Teeth disaster in Planetside 2, where their faction was bullied back to the warp gate and camped continuously? Yes, and I've heard of the Angry Joe one. This is why this is really not meant as like a throwdown to all Planetside 2 players. Like, in fact, I really think it would be in your veteran Planetside 2 players, it's in your best interest to go easy on us this first time. The next times, then you can farm the hell out of us and just really try to make our lives miserable. Hey, we might figure out something else we're doing. Like, again, with the base building, there might be some really cool stuff we can do with that. So I'm hoping it doesn't go that route. I think the biggest advantage we have is that it's 2016 and that the population was sort of dwindling. Although this construction update probably pumped it up again, but that's our best chance is population. And plus, I'm not as big as Rooster Teeth or Angry Joe, so maybe less of the people wanting to ruin everything will be lower numbers. But look, I do not underestimate the experienced players at all. That's why I know we need numbers. If it's an even fight, we're gonna lose badly. But even then, losing is okay. It's the question of how fun is it, and that's why I'm trying. See, for new players, if they're getting shot constantly, then that's not. Well, by constantly, I mean within like 10 seconds of spawning. That's why I encourage them to go to other battle sites or something where it's less hot. So I really am my goal with this is that new players will have a good time, or players in general will have a good time. But so that's more important than winning the continent. But problem is winning and having a good time, especially when you have people just looking to destroy the other faction, kind of go hand in hand. But hey, maybe we'll get lucky in that people are ruining my game, but then on the other continents, they're kicking ass and everybody's having a great time. So I would consider that a partial victory. So let's see. What's the most difficult physical task or challenge you've engaged in? Okay, well, when I was doing cross country in high school, I had one of those. Well, there's different ways of interpreting this. One, I did one of those machines where you can push with your legs, sort of at a diagonal angle, and see how much weight you can push. The maximum weight I was able to push with both of my combined legs, I want to say, okay, it was either 700 pounds or 720 pounds. I have frog's legs, guys. Like, very powerful legs. For other physical feats, I've backpacked, it was either 20 or 21 miles in a day before. I've run 12 miles continuously. I could probably do a half marathon if I trained for it. Probably the times I've been most just utterly exhausted was actually not long ago on this this move I did where I'm on the top floor now, on the 4th floor, and boy, moving all the stuff up on that, I was just, I was so utterly exhausted after moving everything, with all the, I had some help, but still, it was just, because I had to pack up everything, move everything all the way down at the old apartment I was, get into the truck, take it over here, then move it all. I was spent. It's rare that I get depleted like that. But how much do you bench? I'm not even sure because I haven't had an official weight room in a long time. Mostly just do push-ups and pull-ups. Push-ups and pull-ups. So let's see. I don't know many interesting stories in Planetside 2. Somebody's asking about that. Okay, let's see. I'm skipping some of the questions that I feel like aren't that great. Will you start or be a part of someone else's Platoon and Planetside 2 event? I'm leaning towards no, because most of my experience has been solo, so I think I would actually hurt the team cohesion more than anything else. That's why I want to be leading the people who are just, they barely got through the tutorial. It'd be great if we're the diversion from the real thing that's happening. But yeah, no, I absolutely want to encourage people who are more organized to run the game as they see fit. Okay, someone's asking what the green alien creature from my profile pic is from. That's a Yorp from Commander Keen. What do you think about Australia I think somebody asked about this. What do you think about Australia charging higher prices than other places and banning games left and right over graphic content? That sucks. I'm certain I mentioned this on this was several months ago in one of the other video chats. Penny Arcade had a great comic on Australia and Steam. And Gabe Newell. Look that up. But yeah, it sucks. In the case where they get censored or banned, I feel like that's a real gray area for piracy, actually, because here you have customers, they want to buy the game. And if it's banned, well, they can't. So I'm not saying that justifies piracy, but I can sort of see the argument for that. Again, for the record, I think piracy is 100% justified in cases where you can no longer play the game. Like, then to me it's a no-brainer. To me, that's always justified in that scenario. Not legally, but in terms of ethics or whatever. But here, I think it's a real gray area. So I don't know. It sucks. And hey, I know Australia players are getting screwed on Planetside also because that would be the worst ping connection for me to join that server. But if you guys have ideas of what I can do with Australians that it's not too heavily dependent on the ping, maybe could let me know. Ross, what's your opinion on gamer culture? There are certain aspects of it that make me cringe. I mean, I don't know. It's really, it's a lot of different things, you know? Because I mean, a lot of gamer culture overlaps with anime culture, which I'm not really into. Other things, yeah, like the people playing like a hardcore strategy game are maybe not the same people playing Call of Duty or Destiny or something. So I mean, you have like casual crowds, you have more like specialized crowds. I mean, yeah, there's plenty not to like, or like it's just too broad a thing for me. I think for me to make a much of a judgment on it. Yeah. I mean, like, because yeah, 4X game culture is going to be a lot different than like mainstream first-person shooter culture. I think so. Or graphic adventure game culture, totally different crowd. So, okay, I've answered this question a whole bunch. I'm probably gonna skip it. They're asking about how I came up with the idea for Freeman's Mind format. I've answered it elsewhere, so I can feel myself sort of draining a bit. So I'm gonna give this like I don't know 5 more minutes. Go through these questions, give like 5 more minutes after that, then I think I'll wrap this up. A lot of people asking if I lift. Well, I lift myself. I do lots of pull-ups. You know, yeah, I doubt anybody cares about this, but since people are asking, I actually try to avoid lifting lots of heavy weights now, just because I have like borderline scoliosis, which is like curvature of the spine. So it's so easy to do deadlifts incorrectly. So that's why I like pull-ups, because there's no strain on you're not going to screw up your back doing pull-ups. You know, the strain, it's not putting the strain in the right places. If I've ever felt like that wasn't enough, I could always just like tie weights to myself and keep doing them. But yeah, I try to aim for stuff that's not going to throw my back out if I do it wrong. Let's see. What do you think of making an index of answered questions to each broadcast? That would be awesome if somebody else wants to do it. That's a perfect example of stuff that's not important for me enough for me to devote the time towards. You know, yeah, it's a great idea. And hey, if somebody made it, we can add to the description when it goes up on YouTube. But at the same time, if it's the choice between that or get another video out, that's a no-brainer for me personally. Hardest game you've ever played? Geez, I don't know. I mean, there's some early Nintendo ones that are easily. Well, I made it a ways in the Super Meat Boy. Yeah, I got to hell in Super Meat Boy. And I was just like, oh, geez. But there are harder ones than Super Meat Boy that I've played. Helios 2 is brutal. I obviously didn't beat that. I don't know. There's plenty of hard games. I like challenging games more than just like, you know, pound you into the ground hard. Like I guess my favorite ones are ones you can beat it without too much trouble, but if you want to get like the full experience, or you want to see more to the game, then you have to beat it on a harder mode. Those I can like. Yeah, even the original Resident Evils can be kind of hard if you don't know. Those are a little different because if you know what you're doing, those are easier, but or if you know what's coming, rather. What do you think about Half-Life 3 possibly having RPG and open world features? Sure, you know. Works. I mean, it depends on the games. Okay, this is in the YouTube description. I'll probably be playing the somebody's asking what Planetside 2 server. It's probably going to be Emerald because I feel like that's the closest server for all of my audience. And if not, I don't know, maybe Cobalt because that's closer to me. Or if that's not full too, I can try another one. We can maybe change which server it is in the future too, kind of cycle it out. I don't want to commit to more than once a month though, because unless I was really comfortable with how my time management's going. Okay, I'm getting pretty close to caught up. What is your opinion on competitive balanced multiplayer games as opposed to realistic, stylistic multiplayer games? What's fun, you know? I mean, that's what it comes down to. I, like for me, bullet sponges are not fun. Like even if the like even if it's kind of realistic, like I think the only time I'm okay with a bullet sponge is if it's the enemy's the size of a skyscraper or they're armored to look like a fully plated mech or something that, you know, yeah, maybe you wouldn't be able to shoot that down or yeah, just go with whatever's fun. I mean, there's different kinds of games to appeal to different people. And I can be flexible. But. Can we get your opinion or some words on importance on the status of the indie scene? I'm not sure what the current status is, if it's changed in the past year or two. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the games I've been looking forward to just happen to be indie ones. I think that's where a lot of the creativity is coming from. You know, when people say like all the games suck, they just don't know what's out there. Like, if you think all games today suck, you just don't know. I mean, again, that's why I've kind of made that 25 most anticipated game list. And like, even if you really like good graphics, there's a lot of games with good graphics that are coming out now. Those are harder, obviously, but no, it's like a new gaming renaissance, because then you can get into games a specific niche of people will be into, and not everybody. You know, I like games where they're trying to make it the best they can be for that audience. And if other people like it, great. If they don't, it's not a problem. Rather than make sure everyone has to like this game, because then it usually gets watered down. But I mean, not always, but yeah, it's real important. Have you ever played a game you felt like it had potential to be really good, but ends up just being okay? All the time, man, all the time. I'm sure some of my most anticipated game lists will be like that. I'm running dry on examples, but some I'll definitely come up with in Game Dungeon. Well, Uncanny Valley was sort of like that. Do you prefer classical orchestral soundtracks or more contemporary or possibly electronic soundtracks? I probably prefer the more ones with more contemporary instruments. It depends though. Like, I like stuff that has like a distinctive sound to it, because so many orchestral soundtracks, they can just blend in from one to the next, you know, and it's like it doesn't. I like them to really feel like, oh, that sounds really awesome, you know, if they're going to be orchestral or just really nice. It doesn't be just, you know, like, oh, that's so nice to listen to. So, and if it's more generic, I definitely tend to prefer stuff with more contemporary instruments, I think. Okay. Let's see. You know, this one keeps coming up. I answered it in one of the monthly chats, but I'll mention it again. Somebody asking about Doom 4. I've only seen a little bit of it. Basically, I'm sure it'll be fun to some degree. It looks. I'm skeptical if like the melee animation combat is really kind of what Doom's about. You know, because because I think it slows you down. Doom is a very fast game. And the art direction looks like they're going a little slightly, it's a very slight thing, but it looks like they're going a little more stylized than like Maximum Scariness, and I sort of liked the Maximum Scariness angle, but I wish they didn't call it Doom. I wish they called it Doom 4 or Doom Reborn or Doom Martian Chronicles or something. Just give it a new name, not Doom. Like, God. Because now we have to say 1993 Doom. Yeah, thanks for ruining that. Okay. Sunless Sea I mentioned in the last video chat or the one before it. Somebody's asking. Okay, I'm going to wind this down like 2 minutes. And of all the stereotypical world endings, which would you prefer to see? Okay, well, he's mentioning like Revelations. Okay, so I guess we're not going for realistic, any of them. I don't know, man. It's stereotypical, but zombie apocalypse sure works for me. Alien invasion's not bad either. I wouldn't like ecosystem collapsing. That would be the most depressing, I think. Yeah, I think I'd like ones where you still have a chance. You know, the small pockets of survivors can make it. Yeah, nuclear ones would be horrible, just horrible. But yeah, if we're not going for realistic, yeah, zombies. I like zombies. Okay, several questions. Okay, I'm just gonna answer this one and then wind it up because this is a good one to end it on. So sorry, I'm skipping some of the others. Okay, well no. Shoot, I didn't see this one. Okay, I'll end. Two more questions. Sorry, somebody gave a good one. Okay, one is, what do you typically look for in a game? Which genres you tend to prefer? The genres, it varies. You know, I like some driving games. I like games with exploration. I like real-time strategy games, some first-person shooters, some graphic adventure games or puzzle games. For me, it's a combination of that and the theme. Like the theme is almost a bigger deal for me sometimes than the genre, because I mean, like, there's been like lots of Metroid clones, but some of them I'm just not that interested in because it doesn't have that mysterious feel to it, or otherworldly aspect, or it's like, I think there was one that's like, geez, I forgot it. I'm sure I forgot the name of it. It's like you play as a Mexican rustler or something. It's like, well, it's like real comic style, and it's like, well, that's not really my thing so much as far as mysterious alien planet sort of thing. So I'll look more for themes that I like. Okay, and this one question I have to answer is, are you going to get Patreon? Probably not. Again, I accept donations. That's, go to accursedfarms.com/donations. I probably will start putting more links to that in like the descriptions of the YouTube videos, but I thought I should hold off on that because I don't want people to feel like, look, I'm really happy for donations. I just don't want it to be like in people's faces about it. And it's, to me, it's more valuable having like long-term fans than to be like, yeah, give me money now. Like, I'm happier for people who could come back, maybe a few years from now and still checking out what I'm doing. But the other reason, yeah, you can check out the Rotz's fun-filled begathon video I made, but I'm doing that. I'm basically accepting direct donations instead of Patreon for a couple reasons. One is I don't want people to feel pressure to having to do it every month. Like, maybe they got a paycheck bonus or something and they're like, sure, I'll give you $5 or something. Sure, I don't think that's an option on Patreon. I think it has to be every month, or if you want to do a one-time thing, that's great. Also, you can set the price. A lot of people have sent me $13.37. Sure, you can. I'll take that. Or I'm still figuring out all the uses for it, but I'll take cryptocurrency, like Bitcoin or just other things. Like, the bottom line is, if I can keep making videos and pay food and rent, then mission accomplished. I'm not out for like maximum money extraction. I'm doing lots of things wrong if that was my goal, but just to, not having to worry about basic necessities. That's where I'm at right now, which is fantastic. Thanks so much again to anyone who's donated. I still try to send emails to everyone who donates, but again, it's you guys have taken so much stress away from me. It's incredible. So I'll do what I can for you. But yeah, you watch the Begathon video about that. Plus, they got hacked just before I made that video, so that definitely kind of gave me an edge for the direct donations. But okay, I think I'm gonna wind this down. Well, yeah, I guess that was the wind down. So yeah, thanks again. Hope to see you in Planetside. I'll be streaming it. Hopefully it won't be a complete train wreck. And if it is, we'll figure something else out eventually. So yeah, more stuff coming. See you later.